Hi, in our previous video, we looked at inequalities with one given value, such as x is smaller than 2 or x is greater than or equal to -1. Now, I'd like to look at how we go about working with inequalities with more than one given value. Let's look at an example. Draw the following inequality on a number line and then write it in interval notation. And we have got x is greater than or equal to -1 and smaller than 3. Let's put in our number line. I want to start with -1. X is greater than or equal to -1. So we need to put a solid dot above -1. X is also smaller than 3. So we put a hollow dot above 3. Now we need to draw our actual line. X is greater than or equal to -1. So we'll draw a line to the right of -1. X is smaller than 3. So our line will be to the left of 3. Now we can see that our line will be drawn from -1 all the way to 3 and will look like this. In cases like this, we don't put arrows in our line because the possible value of x are only between -1 and 3. Now let's write this inequality in interval notation. In our previous video, we learned that interval notation shows us the highest and lowest possible values of x. Here, the lowest possible value is -1 and the highest is 3. So -1 is our lower bound and 3 is our highest. X is greater than or equal to -1. So the possible values of x include -1 as well. So we can put a square bracket around -1. X is smaller than 3. So it does not include 3 itself. So we put a round bracket around 3. Let's do another one. Here we have x is smaller than or equal to 1, or x is greater than 5. Let's put in a number line. X is smaller than or equal to 1. So we can put a solid dot above 1. X is greater than 5. So we put a hollow dot above 5. Now we can draw a line. X is smaller than or equal to 1. So we draw a line to the left of 1. Over here, x includes every value smaller than 1, so our line goes on forever. Remember that when lines go on forever, we need to draw an arrow, so our line will look like this. Now let's look at our 5. X is greater than 5, so we draw our line to the right of 5. X includes every value greater than 5, so this line also goes on forever. So once again, we need to draw an arrow. In this case, x can be anything smaller than or equal to 1 or anything greater than 5. So we now have two sets of values when writing this inequality in interval notation. Let's start with the values smaller than or equal to 1. We need to consider every value smaller than or equal to 1. So 1 is our upper bound for this set of values. We don't have a lower bound, so the values go on forever. This tells us that -infinity, to write it over here, will be our lower bound. We always put a round bracket around infinity. X is smaller than or equal to 1. So the possible values of x include 1 as well. So we can put a square bracket around 1. There are two sets of possible values for x. X is either smaller than or equal to 1, or x is greater than 5. So over here, we can write or. And now we can look at our second set of values. X is greater than 5. So 5 is our lower bound. Once again, we don't have a higher bound. So the possible values of x include every value greater than 5. So infinity is our higher bound. We can put a round bracket around infinity. X is greater than 5. but it does not include 5 itself. So we can put a round bracket around 5 as well. And we have completed this question. Let's do one more. X is smaller than -3, or X is greater than or equal to 0 and smaller than 2. Let's draw in our number line. X is smaller than -3, so we can put a hollow dot above -3. X is greater than or equal to 0, so we can put a solid dot above 0. And X is smaller than 2, so we can put a hollow dot above 2 as well. Now we can draw our lines. X is smaller than -3, so we need to draw a line to the left of 3. X can take on any value smaller than -3, so our line will go on forever. This tells us we need to put an arrow in our line like this. X is greater than or equal to 0, so we need to draw a line to the right of 0. Let's draw a small line over here. Finally, X is smaller than 2, so our line will be to the left of 2. X is greater than or equal to 0, but smaller than 2. So we can draw our line from 0 to 2 like this. Now that we've completed our number line, let's write this inequality in interval notation. Again, we have 2 sets of values. So let's start with X is smaller than -3. Here, -3 is our upper bound. X can take on any possible value smaller than -3, so we don't have a lower bound. This shows us that -infinity is our lower bound. Let's put a round bracket around infinity. X is smaller than -3, but does not include -3 itself, so we put a round bracket around -3 as well. Remember that in this case, X can take on the value of one set of values or another. So let's write or over here. And now we can look at our second set. X is greater than or equal to 0. So 0 is our lower bound. X is smaller than 2. So 2 is our upper bound. Edit. Begin here. Remember that in this case, X can take on the value of one set of values or another. So let's write or over here. And now we can look at our second set. X is greater than 0. Edit. Begin here. Remember that in this, sorry, that was a mess. Let's begin again here. Remember that in this case, X can take on the value of one set of values or another. So over here, we can write or. And now we can look at our second set. X is greater than or equal to 0. So 0 is our lower bound. X is smaller than 2. So 2 is our upper bound. X is greater than or equal to 0. So the possible values of X include 0 as well. So we can put a square bracket around our 0. X is smaller than 2. So it does not include 2. And we can put a round bracket around 2. And we have now completed this question. Please work through some questions in this section before moving on to our next video.